welcome back to the Fred in the Shed channel. I'm Fred, I'm up in the Radio Shack, and on this one, a nice uplifting radio story. Before we get right into this one, I want to update the last little story that I brought to you, and that was a story of Ken Overtone, a 68-year-old pensioner with disabilities. And he put up a CB antenna so he could get some contacts to chat to people in the evenings because he was feeling a little bit lonely. And the people that owned his flat, Alliance Homes, they were trying to get him to take down his antenna. And it really looked like that they were going to get their way. I couldn't see how he'd be able to keep the antenna up. And I did ask in the video if anyone had any updated information, because I really felt sorry for the guy. I really felt it was unjust. I don't think he was causing any interference at all. And I asked for information, if anyone knew anything about it. And Gary came back, Gary on YouTube. And Gary said that he had driven round that way just a few weeks ago and Ken's antenna is still up. Yes, well, good on you, Ken, for standing up for your rights. So it looks like they didn't make him take down his antenna, and that's brilliant, and that really cheered me up, because that means that Ken had a CB radio all the way through the lockdowns, and hopefully he's made some good friends. So thank you, Gary, for giving me that information. That really cheered me up. Gary, by the way, Gary has been on YouTube a long time. He's got a radio-based YouTube channel, a really nice laid-back channel. It's called UKCB TV, or 104 UKCB TV. Check out Gary's channel if you like radio videos where Gary goes out, he does DXing, he does radio repairs. Very laid back, very laid back guy, very easy to watch videos. So I'll put a link to his YouTube channel in the description. Maybe go over, have a look at his videos, they're good. So getting back to the title of this video. Now, people have said to me in the past, some on comments, but mostly in real life, oh, do you know what, Fred? Radio's dead, mate. You want to leave it a pass. No one goes on the radio. It failed. CB radio failed. It was a waste of time. No, it wasn't. It brings people together. It's for the community. People make friends. People meet up off of radio, make long-term friendships. And it's also there for an emergency. Now, perhaps not the way they envisaged all those years ago. Do you remember on the old 40-channel FM rigs, there was always a little Channel 9 emergency button? I know I had one on mine. And for a while, people did monitor the Channel 9 emergency. The idea being if someone got in serious trouble, they could call out on their radio and we could get them some help. They were very particular at the time, back in 1982, 83. If you went on to the Channel 9 and you started talking, you would be swiftly told to bugger off that channel, leave it alone. So they took it quite seriously for a while, and then it sort of faded away. But things did happen, a bit like this. This Maxcom 7E emergency radio kit, the idea being you put this in the boot of your car, something happened, you were stuck out somewhere, there was no mobile phones, of course, in those days. You'd crack into this, call out on the CB, and you would get some help. I did make a video on this, by the way, a long time ago, probably about sort of 7 years ago. What I'll do, because it was quite interesting, I was just starting out, and I'll leave a little clip at the end. If you stay to the end of this video, and I'll leave a little clip, because something quite strange really happened whilst I was making a video review on this little Maxcom 7E. And I'm pleased to say that this story does have a happy ending, where a radio guy, I thought it was CB at first because the Daily Mirror threw me a curveball. They said CB on their video description, but it turns out to be a radio ham, a guy named Mike Everett, who was on 2 meters and overheard this distress call and was able to bring help. So let me get right into it. This is what happened. The story starts out at a very picturesque and pretty place in the UK, just outside Exmoor, a place called Wimblewell Lake. And a group of families had gone down there for a peaceful holiday of camping and hiking in the countryside. Among the group was a young lady called May. Now, sadly, May suffers from epilepsy and is prone to seizures. She also has the more dangerous type of epilepsy, which causes cluster seizures, and when you have one of these, you really do need medical help very quickly. It can be very dangerous. On this day, May joined a group of other holiday makers for a walk out into the countryside, and it was there that unfortunately May did suffer a very bad seizure. It very quickly became apparent that poor May was going to need some urgent medical attention. But unfortunately, because they'd wandered away from the camp, none of them were able to get a mobile phone signal to call help. But thankfully, amongst them was a guy named John Matthews, and he was an amateur radio enthusiast, and he was carrying a 2 metre 70 centimetre handheld transceiver. And thankfully he was able to get a signal from a local radio repeater at Mendip Hills and put out a distress call. And his signal was picked up by a guy called Mike Everett, a 24-year-old radio enthusiast in Harfield, which is about 70 miles away. Now, Mike's partner also suffers from epilepsy, so Mike knew how serious this situation could be, and he sprang straight into action. He immediately phoned the emergency services on 999. Now, I do believe there was a slight bit of confusion because they're not used to having radio enthusiasts call them about an event that is 70 miles away. Once things were made clear, they was able to dispatch an emergency ambulance, and I believe it left about 3 minutes after they received the call. Also, a fire brigade emergency responder vehicle who was on the M5 also rushed to help May. And using his radio, Mike was able to relay all of this information back to John at the scene and put his mind at rest knowing that help would soon be there. And thanks to the quick thinking of John and Mike, and of course, radio, May received the emergency treatment she needed at the scene. She was transferred to a local hospital, but she was dispatched later and was able to return to the campsite and continue with her holiday. So when normally younger people, they look down their noses at your radio hobby and they tell you it's outdated, it doesn't matter anymore. Hey, we've got the internet, we've got mobile phones. Well, just remind them of May's story, because when those mobile phones don't work, when you've got no cellular coverage or there's a power cut, sometimes all that stands between you and disaster could be a simple handheld radio. And there you go. What a great story. Why radio is still important, even in 2022. Now, this Maxcom emergency radio, I said I'd explain a little bit about this. I bought this 7 years ago on eBay. And it was cheap, but that's not the reason I bought it. The reason I bought this radio was the fact that at the time I had a Grant 2, and I was getting no contacts at all. Now, people sometimes leave comments on my channel and they say, you know, Fred, I've been on 3 months, I've only spoken to 3 people. Honestly, I was getting no contacts at all. And I didn't know if my rig worked properly. I didn't know if my antenna was getting out. So I bought this emergency radio setup purely to put it in the car because it was the cheapest radio I could buy on eBay, and go out and see if it was working, just to see if my signal was getting out and I was getting back to my home base. I did make 2 videos on this. 2 videos. They're very early Fred in the Shed videos. I'll leave links in the description if you want to go and find out a little bit more about this video. Be kind to me because I was still cutting my teeth on videos. These were very, very cheap at the time. This radio, as you can see, absolutely immaculate. It's never been used. People used to buy these, put it in the boot of their cars, thinking they'd use it as an emergency radio. After a couple of years, brought it inside, put it in a loft. And this one, instructions have never really been opened. It's still got very sharp crease, and even the warranty card still included. So someone really looked after this. These were really cheap at the time. I think I paid about £25 delivered for this. And there were lots of these on eBay. No one wanted them, which is a shame because they're a perfectly usable 40-channel 4-watt mobile transceiver CB radio. Things have changed, of course. CB radio is a lot more popular than it was 7 years ago. And since lockdown, everything on eBay has got more expensive. So, yeah, you're going to pay a bit more than £25 for one of these. But they do come up every now and then. So I'll leave the clip that I promised you because I took this out in the car to make the videos. Bearing in mind I wasn't speaking to anyone at all. And I just put it onto, I think it was channel 19, because it's 40 channel, of course, not just emergency channel 9. I put it on to channel 14, I keyed up, and I got a contact. How convenient. believe it? I got my first mobile contact. I nearly fell off the seat in the car. So I'll put that at the end, and then at the end of the video, you've got the links to the full review and the road test if you want to watch that. But that's fine. But that's it anyway for Fred in the Shed. Thank you ever so much for tuning in and watching the video. I get so little views really, although last one did quite well. But I get so little views on here. There's the thumbs up from me. Thank you for your view time. Look after each other. Stay safe, and yeah, I'll catch you on the next one, guys. Okay. There we go. Why we got it set up and why we're sitting here, we'll just run it round to the 19. We'll just give a shout for a radio check. It's never going to work, but radio check on the 19. Anyone out there give me a radio check? Come back.
Yeah, going out loud and clear, breaker.
Ah, that's great. Thanks very much, mate.
No problem.
How about that? I don't know where he was, but it actually worked. Incredible, isn't it? Eh? How about that? Well, there you go. You can't do better than that. I don't even get that at home, do I? That little 2.5 foot stick. Fantastic. So there we go. That's been cool.